You know, I'll never forget the day a white buddy of mine said black people don't deserve equality because they could never get enough. And that's true. White people are actually scared of equality. That's just how racist we are as a people. And it's not just that one person. White culture in general. Probably I would say most white people, when they hear the word equality, they fear that white people will be oppressed because brown, black, and indigenous people might actually get what's fair and just. That's just how racist we are. And we're so obsessed with the idea of not having equality in America for black, brown, and indigenous people that we don't have health care, that we don't have economic equality. We don't have reasonable gun laws. Our liberties are being stripped because we have a fascist, racist, white supremacist regime in office because we are so scared of equality. We're so scared that black and brown folks might become the majority one day. That we had a black president, and now we've got to have a white supremacist president. That's how scared we are of equality. That's how racist we are as a people. Go to the fucking root. The root of America's problems. The root of the white man and the white woman, their problems, and America and the world. If you think about it, colonialization, white supremacy, the mentality of white people today, not just yesterday, today, right now, the denial racially, the silence, the apathy, the continuous gaslighting, all that fucking shit, that's ruined us. It's ruined white people, and it's ruining our nation. And whose fault is it? White people's fault. Their inability to fucking fix their goddamn problem. Until we fix white supremacy, everything we try will fail. It's dysfunctional and it's toxic, and Trump and this regime is the perfect proof of all that shit. How we got in this fucking mess? White people's bullshit. White people's racist fucking bullshit.
White people ultimately don't need other races in order to succeed, in order to be ourselves. Absolutely not.
So how do you think America became the greatest economic nation without...
Not through black people.
Oh, it wasn't? It wasn't because of free labor?
Are you talking about slavery?
No, I'm talking about slavery and also what happened after slavery, which Douglas Blackburn talked about, slavery by another name. So I'm trying to understand, when you say didn't need it, how do you think America became the greatest economy that it did? How do you think that happened?
Through the genius of Europeans.
How was the genius of Europeans when the fact of the matter is it was actually King Cotton that supplied the economic means for America to do so? And that was a result of free labor from black people.
Look, the whole point here is that who creates these systems? Who creates these business models and businesses?
Slavery was a business model?
Well, yes, it was a business model.
I asked you again, okay? You said we don't need anybody else.
No.
But the reality is, American history proves you wrong. The fact of the matter is, there is no great America. You can't sit here and talk about that greatness without other people making that happen.
We never intended them to be anything other than a slave. But they began to grow in number and in power, and eventually they fought their way to some freedom. So we became even more cruel, and to keep our black Americans down, we lynched. But yet they rose. So then we used the welfare system, the criminal justice system, to keep them down, to contain them, to destroy them. But yet they rose, and they're rising. Then we built prisons and jails to hold them. Yet they rose. And so now we are doing exactly what the Pharaoh did at the end, sending out a decree, kill them. So until we admit that when we wrote this Constitution that all men are created equal, that we never intended to include our black brothers and sisters, our nation may end up facing exactly what the Egyptians faced when they refused to let God's people go. So I'm going to say this to my white fellow Americans, that the bloodshed that is on its way is not on the hands of our fellow black Americans, but is on our hands. We are the ones that are refusing to let God's people go. We are the ones that are refusing to acknowledge that we do not value our black brothers and sisters as equal individuals or equal Americans as us white men. And to my black brothers and sisters, the racial issues, as I've said, have been there from the very foundation. But why do we see it more? Because there's a shifting. See, us white men have been at the head since the foundation. But we've had a black president. And you know, we've done everything in our power to keep him from really changing things. Now we have another minority rising to the top, a white female. What does that say? Those of us who are white men who have been at the head are now starting to see and fear that we are going to become the tail. And we know what we've done to you. And so now we're fearful that you're going to do to us what we have done to you. But I will say this. I've lived in a black community for 23 years. I've never been treated the way that this country has treated my black Americans. So I call out my white Americans to say we better heed, repent, acknowledge, and change.
What if one idea, something most people never question, quietly shaped who succeeds and who struggles? Not just in the past, but right now. And what if that idea was never actually true? Stay with me because this goes deeper than you think. When people hear the word white supremacy, they picture extremists, violence, the obvious. But that is only the surface. The real story, it is more subtle, more embedded, and way more influential. So by the end of this video, you will see how it was built and why it still works today. So let's watch this compilation of clips, then I will come back with more comments.
Country. Jim Crow, white men. Slavery, white men. Segregation, white men. Concentration camps for Asian Americans in the late 30s and early 40s. 1,800 people died. How many black people were hung from trees? 8,000. Let me guess. Oh yeah, once again, white men. The gun violence? 98% are men. 84% are white men, U.S. citizens. I see a trend. How about the Middle Passage where 1.2 African Americans died? Oh yeah, once again, white men. Why was the Second Amendment written? Let me think. Oh, so black people couldn't have their freedoms. So the white men could once again control them. Who's in the White House? An adjudicated rapist, convicted felon white man. Wow, I see a trend. But somehow Americans are just begging to blame a trans person, a non-white person. See, what happened to George Floyd is symbolic of what's happening in this country. The white man putting his knee on the neck of a non-white person and sitting there in broad daylight with the balls to say, who's going to stop me? And that's what we're seeing right now. So that's the question that we need to ask ourselves as a fucking country. Who's going to stop them? Because I'm just one person here. Now, I don't know about you, but I got friends and family that are sitting behind the white privilege, and I want nothing to do with them. Not because of who they are, because their lack of action. Martin Luther King said, history is going to remember not the people that did bad things, but the good people that stood by and did nothing. Because once again, the white man is hiding behind their privilege while everybody else is getting treated like absolute fucking garbage. Because it doesn't affect me. You don't even want to go on a general strike to stop fascism. Oh, I can't work. Oh, I got a job. White man is the mental health crisis in the United States of America. It has been since day one.
You're saying more black people get abortions.
Yes. So I looked
Okay,
it up.
why is that, white lady? White lady,
Hey.
why do more black people get abortions? Because abortions are based on what? Lack of access to resources.
Because-
No, because abortions disproportionately happen to impoverished people. Why are black people more impoverished than white people? Because of white supremacy. So thank you for pointing out that people that have been forced into poverty through systemic racism of the last 200 years are forced to abort their baby more because of the lack of resources to be able to raise a baby. And then you, as a white lady, use that as your talking point to take the health care away from those same women that are suffering in those same impoverished neighborhoods because you don't want to acknowledge the white supremacy supremacy behind it all.
This might be a hot take, but a lot of white people are not happy. There are 3 reasons for this. The first is that there is just a general idea of just hyper-individualism and hoarding of resources. A lot of them are extremely stingy, don't tip well, and also don't donate to local charities. They're very isolated, and what few friends they have, their connection is built upon shared bigotry, which is obviously not a strong connection. Number 2, a lot of white people feel a sense of emptiness. They have the job, the car, the career, the kids, the Bible, but they don't feel that sense of fulfillment.
Now, if the system was really holding black people back, then how are so many still rising? How are these successful black entrepreneurs, leaders, and artists, innovators all over the world? That question sounds simple, but the answer isn't. Because what you are seeing is really success, but what you are not seeing is the full journey behind it. And once you understand that, everything looks different.
White people have done every single thing in our power to make black people feel less than, to feel worthless, to feel inferior, and you didn't. We failed. We failed in that. We enslaved you, we beat you, we bred you, we treated you worse than cattle. We did everything that we could in order to make the black person in this country feel inferior. And you are still here and you influence everything. Every single day is influenced by a black person in some way. Music is influenced by black people. Fashion is influenced. The way we speak is influenced. Every single thing that is American culture has been influenced by black American. So as a white person, if your people have spent hundreds of years telling you that these other people are worth less than you, you're going to be fucking annoyed when they don't act the way that you've been told that they should fucking act, right? That's their mentality. That is what their mentality is. They've been told their entire lives that black people are inferior. And so when you don't act that way, it enrages them. And that is it. It's jealousy. The community that black people have in every situation, Montgomery, there was a hat thrown in the air and you guys jumped into action. It was, I am so trying to be respectful. I really not trying white woman tears this. Black women have the DNA for every single human on the planet. It is in your bones. You make it. And that is magic. So it's another, it's like, I don't mean this in any disrespectful way. They're playing their role. It's just like the heteronormative way of life, right? Like you're assumed straight until you come out because that's what everybody does. Everybody does it. And so we all play our roles that we are assigned, but black people in this country are not playing the role that was assigned to them in the mentality of white people. You guys aren't taking out our garbage. You're not taking care of our children. You're not in the fields. You know, you're educated. You are highly educated. Like, again, you are more educated. Black women are more educated today than every other class of person. And that happened in less than 50 years. It is jealousy. It is rage and the fact that you guys are not playing the assigned role that they think that you should be playing. So I hope that this was respectful. And
so black people are taking white jobs. China gave us the China virus. Haitians are eating pets. Puerto Rico's a floating island of garbage. What the fuck are white people besides gigantic pieces? That video was taken down after it went very viral. Because apparently there was a whole bunch of people who didn't like me talking shit about the white folk. But I'm here today on November 6th, the day we literally lost our democracy, to tell you that white people are the fucking problem. We've always been the problem and we're always going to be the problem. I am not one of those fucking pick-me girls, okay? I am on all the marginalized groups' side. I will say fuck the patriarchy to anyone who will listen. This right here, this Donald Trump presidency for 2024, white. So it's, we let all of our black and brown and gay and lady friends, we let everyone down. Yep. You can only blame you, white people. And I'm trying to make this video so it doesn't come down because you are the fucking racists in this country. Yep. I mean, you are the ones that called every marginalized group a slur. Not the other side. Have the fucking day you deserve.
But there's a huge difference between being not racist and anti-racist. Growing up as a white person, I was not racist. I didn't say the N-word, but I also was terrified to participate in any sort of discussion about race. I sort of just stayed out of it, right? I was like, this isn't a problem I contribute to, but it's also not gonna be a problem that I help put an end to, I guess. Then I went to college at Brown, and that's where I learned that not being racist is in its own way contributing to racism. Because if you are too scared as a white person to call out the racism of other people or to critically examine your own biases, especially your implicit ones, that is still a contributing factor to the problem. And that's why I now make the content that I do, because I'm thinking back to all of these things that I heard as a child, and I'm seeing my entire life in a new light. Like, wow, this family was quite racist, this friend was racist, all these things that the people I went to high school with that they did, sort of critically examining it as well as my own biases. So if you are someone who continues to insist that you're not racist, you're probably contributing to the problem.
Racism devastates people from the global majority the most, obviously. Let's be really clear about that. But whiteness carries a cost for white people too. And I wish white people could get that into their heads. It shows up in how isolated we often are. In regions like the Northeast and Wales, over 90% of people are white British, and a third of white Britons say they have no friends from a global majority background. I mean, think about what that means. We are cut off from whole worlds of perspective, from different ways of thinking, problem solving, creativity, ideas, joy, humor, you name it. Instead of gaining resilience through difference, we stay small and we stay shallow and we cling to sameness, and I guess we call that normal. Whiteness looks like power, but it's really a cage. It cuts us off from the richness of life itself. Racism dehumanizes people of color, but it also diminishes white people. And anti-racism isn't charity work, remember. It's how we open the door to fuller humanity, connection, and possibility. I mean, it would be great if we did this out of the goodness of our hearts and for the sake of justice. But if that feels like too much to ask, do it for selfish reasons. Do it because your life will be richer, deeper, funnier, and better if you do.
I cannot wait for the comments on this one, but white people, we're gross, and I just learned yet another reason why. So my 3-year-old son is in nursery school, right? And we got an email the other day that said that there was lice happening at the school. Gross. So I follow the links to like the CDC page on head lice, and I of course buy all the products and get the knit comb and all the things, and I'm studying the information on the CDC page when what to my wondering eyes should I come across but the little fun fact that African American communities experience less lice than white people. It just makes me think of what a nice compliment that is to the TikTok I saw the other day. Oh, I wish I could remember who created it, with the guy talking about how when the Europeans came here to the US, then, you know, Turtle Island, the indigenous people could smell them like football fields away, and they were like so repulsed that they begged them to bathe, and they taught them how to have appropriate levels of hygiene. And they say white people have no culture. It's in our blood. We're disgusting.
Can we stop, for once, at least, maybe in our nation's history, stop trying to blame white on white crime on black people? Can we stop it for once, at least, please? Like, we all knew when Charlie Kirk was killed. We knew. We knew who this was going to be. We knew who the suspect was going to be, a young white man. We knew it. And yet, some people tried to spin this to say it was something else. And now threats are being lobbied against black students at universities. Black HBCUs are being threatened to be blown up. I think 4 of them had to shut down yesterday and today because they had to deal with bomb threats. It was never them. It's never been the black community. We always blame anybody else but ourselves. But the call is coming from inside the house. We are the problem. White on white crime, we are the problem. We have always been the problem. So let's for once stop trying to blame somebody else and look inward and try to address the actual problems that we are the ones creating upon ourselves.
You don't think white women have been conned to the most by patriarchy? Explain this. 92% of black women voted for Kamala Harris, and only 47% of white women did. So more than half of white women voted for a patriarchal rapist. Why? Because they were the most conned by patriarchy. Sure, patriarchy runs thick in all of us, and we all do have to deconstruct. But because of patriarchy's intersection with white supremacy, it hits different for white women. White women are told, yeah, white men might be the most powerful in society, but you can live in their houses. You can have access to the places where these men go, to the places where influence happens. You can just influence your husband to get the world that you want because your husband will be the most powerful in this society. Patriarchy says, yeah, you have to submit to men. Men will always be higher than you, but you get to be higher than everyone else. And this is how patriarchy subtly convinces white women to help them enforce white supremacy culture. It says, yeah, you can't be at the top of the ladder, but we'll give you the second rung, higher than the rest of them. Patriarchy doesn't make the same promise to black women or to Latino women. It doesn't work so hard to con them because it knows that they're likely already sufficiently oppressed by white supremacy and likely capitalism too. Patriarchy does its best to get white women to buy into the idea of hierarchy. It needs us to, because if we didn't, we alone could be the force that changed the tides. There are enough of us. So what it tries to offer us instead, in order to entice us to play the patriarchal game, is it says, but you can be not like the other women. You can be better than the other women. You'd be the cool girl or the sports girl or the trophy wife. While all those other women are getting oppressed because you're the exception. That's right, you're going to be the exception. Then you will get treated better by patriarchy. Patriarchy won't forget about you and render you invisible when you're in your 40s like it does those other women. You're special. If you're just self-sacrificing enough and you prioritize your children and your husband, oh, there will be a bright future waiting for you. Don't listen to those other older women. They're just bitter because they're not special like you. You're different. Patriarchy barely plays that game with other women. That is a game designed for white women. It's why white women are so competitive with each other, because they all think they're vying for the slot of the special woman, the exception to the rule that applies to other women. Little do they know there was never any such exception. That carrot is like the bunny that the greyhound is chasing around the track. It always just seems to elude them. By the time they figure it out when they're in their 40s, and they start getting treated like they have no value, well, by then they'll just be discarded while their husband gets somebody younger who doesn't yet know this, and then that younger woman will be told, you're the exception. It won't happen to you. Just wait, you will be cherished forever. White women need to own our shit. You should be really embarrassed by this.
Go ahead, be on the wrong side of history. Listen, Shaquita. Isn't that racial profile?
I'm not stitching this to stitch for this woman to understand anything, because there isn't a chance she's going to until she needs other women. She just won't understand it until she needs other women, because white women are the problem. White women are the problem. I am the problem. So I'm trying to be part of the solution. I'm trying to help white women understand that the reason that you're going so hard is because a man told you to go that hard, and men are getting you to do their bidding war for them and go against women. You know, I am a woman's woman through and through, have been my whole life. I have never, will never, and don't need to ever be a pick-me girl. And it's really sad that white women are the problem. But we need to be part of the solution now.
So this isn't just about struggle. It is about something deeper. How people adapt, rise, and succeed. That is even when the path isn't level. So let's be clear. Black success is not rare. It is not accidental. And it is not new. Across industries, businesses, sports, education, culture, black individuals and communities continue to grow, build, and lead. That matters, but here is the key. Success doesn't mean the path was easy. It means the path was navigated. So the real question is, what did it take to get there? When people say black people are doing fine, what they're not often seeing is the resiliency in action, because it can look like working twice as hard to be recognized, building strong community support systems, creating opportunities where none existed before, pushing through doubt, bias, or limited access. That is not the absence of barriers. That is people finding ways around them. Think of it like this. Two people are climbing the same hill. One has a clear path. The other has obstacles, rocks, and detours. If both reach the top, did they take the same journey? Oh no. Success is visible. Struggle often isn't. We celebrate the wins, the breakthroughs, the exceptional stories, but we don't always see the extra effort behind them. The people who didn't get the same chances, the systems that made the journey harder. So sometimes success gets used as proof that barriers don't exist, when it might actually highlight how much had to be overcome. And that doesn't take away from achievement. If anything, it makes it more powerful, because it shows the strength, adaptability, determination, and the ability to rise. Not because the system is perfect, but in spite of its imperfections. So both things can be true. Black people are succeeding, and the playing field isn't always equal. Recognizing that isn't negativity, it is clarity. Because the real story isn't just about success, it is about the journey behind it. Not just who made it, but what it took. So next time you see someone winning, ask, what obstacle did they have to overcome? And how many others never got the same chance? So if this made you think, share it, start the conversation, and subscribe to this channel, because understanding the full picture changes how you see everything. I will see you in the next video.